All right, Valerie, we are live. So good afternoon to you and good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Nerrill, and I help professionals who are ambitious about their careers create their next advancement opportunity by coaching them on how they choose to show up energetically and professionally to make the impact they want. And so today, I am so happy and honored to welcome as my guest to the show, health wellness coach and also PWBA Rookie of the Year, Valerie Bercier. Valerie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, John. That was awesome. I'm glad to be here, and good afternoon or good morning still on the West Coast.
Yeah, wherever anybody's watching and joining us in. So if you are, if you've joined on these Facebook Lives before, thank you so much, and you know how this all works. If you're new and this is your first time, welcome. We're so glad you're here. Feel free to type in any questions or comments that you have in the comment box. I'll monitor them throughout the interview, and we'll do a little Q&A at the end, just to run through some of your questions and stuff. But Valerie and I connected. We connected on Facebook, and we share a common love and passion for bowling, and so we also share a passion for coaching. And that is also another reason as to why we connected. And so, Valerie, I just want to turn it over to you to just give us just a general introduction about who you are and what you do and who do you get to help in your work. So take it away.
I love it. Thank you. And we share a passion for coaching, and just helping people move forward in their lives. I didn't know that I really wanted to be a coach. And so I became a registered dietitian to help people with their health and their nutrition. And I realized that I wanted to start a private practice early in my career as a dietitian. And so now what I do is I have started it, but I'm part of a company called OptiVia. I'm a health coach with them, and it's a tool that they use, or that I can use, to help people start where they are and move them forward in their health. Because what I found as a dietitian was I was trying to help people, with their nutrition, but it was their behaviors that they needed to change. And so this program, thankfully that, I found it almost 3 years ago now. I've been coaching, hundreds of clients through not only with weight loss, but through the transition to optimization is what we call it. So not even maintenance, we call it optimization. And because their mission is lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. And I could just completely get behind that in that it's not just a quick fix, your health. You got to be long-term minded. And if you are short-term minded, then, maybe you get results for a period of time. You don't sustain them. And I've been in bowling for so long that I didn't know if I wanted to be a bowling coach either, but I do coach or, somewhat assist, practice with people when I can. And I wouldn't call myself a bowling coach, but at one point, maybe I'll dabble in it. But right now I'm focused on people just improving bowlers specifically, or, the majority of my clients, with the exception of some referrals, which are awesome, but most of them, are bowlers because they want to either improve their game, decrease their pain, improve their energy. A lot of them are the seniors going on the senior tour, which is like, it's blowing up. I mean, it's so cool to watch all of these guys that I watched when I was a kid now, like, still competing into their 50s, 60s, 70s, and they want to compete with the best of the best in their world.
Right. And like you said, the senior tour is just undeniably tough with the extremely high level of talent that's out there. But we also know in our head, and you said this really well too, is that if we want to be able to play, we have to be able to do that at an optimal level in terms of our overall health. And so for so many of us, whether we play a sport, or we're playing full out in a corporate job, or we're just playing full out with our families, or we're doing all three of those things, what in your experience have you found to be most helpful with your clients in terms of getting them to shift their mindset to put their health first?
it starts with the decision to do that. That's what it starts with. And then the mindset, and it has to be, you can't have an all or nothing mentality. So for example, there has to be a plan, a decision, a plan, and then we like to use if then statements. So like, if this is the case, then, what are you going to do? What's your plan? And if you go in, I love the saying. When I first heard it, I mean, it's repeated so often in my world these days. Like, if you fail to plan to fail, some people get sick of that, but it's so true. If you're not planning for something and then all of a sudden you're confronted with it in terms of health, like if you have a party or an event, then you're going to resort back to old habits. So, I mean, does that kind of answer your questions of like how to get started and get your mindset in the right space?
Well, and I loved what you said too about how it starts with a decision, right? And there's a point about being very intentional, right? We talked about before the show, even today, right? We set an intention, and in that intention, there's a decision in how we want to take action. What I could imagine, and even just from my own experiences too, but for people who travel a lot and you're on the road, or if you're out at a tournament and you're competing a whole lot, what are some of the things that you could share with us in terms of what planning looks like so it doesn't lead to kind of a health fail?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I get that a lot. I was actually on another podcast. That seems to be the hot topic when people are traveling, which is actually why I love, the program that I coach for, because we give you those baby steps and we actually have meal replacements, fuelings, is what we call them, because they're designed to fuel the body. So we look at food as fuel, for one, and instead of pleasure, which is what that's what we feel like food should be sometimes, or we use it as pleasure. And so when we're traveling, we can take those fuelings with us. I do anyway. And when I was on tour all of last summer, I mean, they were saviors, especially in the airports, long drives, long commutes, I suppose we could call them. And it's just planning for that. So if they're just a tool for us, and we can, in our optimization phase, which I'm not in a weight loss phase, but we can use them as snacks. But, there's a lot of other healthy alternatives to fuelings out there, like fruit, nuts, easy transportable. I mean, it's hard to transport hard-boiled eggs and, meat. But, if you're at home and you're able to prepare those things, then that's a good source of protein. But veggies that you can, or if you have to stop somewhere, you can pick up some of the things that don't sound good all the time, but that they're going to be fuel. And then once you get in the habit of fueling that way and choosing those options, you're going to feel better. And then it's going to be that cycle of, I feel better now, so I'm going to choose that. And then you link the two, and it's instead of a vicious cycle, which is what I kind of, always talk about, it's like that healthy cycle that you get into.
No, I like that. Thank you for sharing that. I did want to ask you, because this comes up a lot in the work that I do with my clients. We talk a lot about work-life balance, and we put that all in air quotes, right? Everybody wants to have this work-life balance. Or if I'm talking with a potential client and they're like, I want this great work-life balance, and then they start throwing in about, they want to go to the gym, and they want to eat healthier, and they want a job that pays six figures, and they want to spend more time with their family and everything. Valerie, as a coach, how do you address the work-life balance from the health and wellness side in your work?
Yeah, I love this question. And I have a little prepared answer, but it's just so fun to sit and be present with all of this and think about how far I've come in that. Because I mean, if you ask my husband, John, he'll say that I wanted to work all the time. There was always something that I could do, and there was always, something that I needed to do. But what I have realized, with the help of him and my business coaches and in our health world, is that you have to schedule it in as much. Like, and JC, John Claude Dordick, he's on. He was commenting earlier. Yeah, he actually schedules in his naps. So, just scheduling in that work-life balance, scheduling in time with your kids, yoga, meditation, exercise. And what I recommend, and what we recommend really as a philosophy and in starting new habits, is to start small. So we have a lot of people that come to us all the time with, they tried to beat themselves up in the gym, all over, they'll schedule in an hour, 2 hours at the gym, 5 days, the New Year's resolutioners. I feel like that's what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And then they end up just getting not only mentally fatigued, but physically fatigued and exhausted and possibly injured, So we recommend just starting with 10 minutes. If you want to move forward with okay, so for example, with the work-life balance, I'm thinking of trying to schedule in some of those healthy activities of, the self-care type of activities, yoga, meditation, exercise. Then JC says our community's watching. Well, thanks. I appreciate you guys showing up.
Thank you.
You wanna start with 10 minutes a day, maybe twice a week, right? So then you build on that. Once you do it, because if you don't do it and you said you were going to do it, then you lose credibility with yourself and think, I'm a failure. Even if it is subconscious, like, I'm a failure, I didn't do it. So you start 10 minutes. And then once you get the 10 minutes, those 2 days a week, then you get to choose, is it going to be 15 minutes for 2 days, or is it going to be another day of 10 minutes? Mm-hmm. And you just build from there. And then finally you're like, hey, I'm an exerciser.
Yeah.
Hey, I go to the gym. Hey, I've got time for my kids. Another big thing that I just thought about is I've got time, or as opposed to I don't have time. It's making that shift to, oh my gosh, there's never enough time in the day. Oh my gosh, I don't have time to, for anything. It's just not true. You right. do. And if you think that you don't have time, then you're not going to have time.
I love that. I think that is so powerful. And as you're talking, I'm starting to connect these dots, right? And so a lot of times, we think that there's this arc, right? There's this arc from where you are and to where you want to get to. And we know it's not a straight line, right? And it curves and it bends and it dips and it escalates and everything like that. But there's this arc in terms of what you are also talking about in terms of developing a mindset that seems to be really integral in terms of the work that you do with your clients. Would that be accurate?
Totally. Yeah. So our trilogy of optimal health. So it's like a Venn diagram. So it's healthy body, healthy mind, healthy finances. Mm-hmm. And so, a lot of people, especially I would think in your world, they're chasing finances at the expense of their health. Mm-hmm. So we really try to hone in, and then JC also mentions all the time that only on a healthy body can rest a healthy mind. So it's like a mantra that I repeat all the time, because I heard it from, isn't that crazy? Yeah. I heard it, one of the gals that I spoke with yesterday, she had lost 100 pounds and she was just completely miserable. She really couldn't see anything past her pain. And so she couldn't have a healthy mind and go and do the things that she wanted to do because of how much pain she was in physically, popping ibuprofen and, taking other pharmaceuticals that, and some of those things fog your mind, right? So it's taking those baby steps, right? You can't change the world in a day. You can't lose 100 pounds in a day.
Mm-hmm. For anyone who is listening, whether you are live or on the replay, that was just a now moment. And that now stands for a nugget of wisdom. So I love that. So thank you.
Write that down.
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, it's especially when you are quote unquote busy, and we can all make ourselves busy, right? I mean, we can fill our days with things that we need to do. And yeah, there's a lot of things that influence us or occupy us for time. But I love what you said about just starting small and recognizing that, where do you get to find that 10-minute window to take care of yourself in doing all of this. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. And JC's got a couple comments. Best to take a Ferrari across the arc rather than a rocking chair.
And I like that, JC. Nice.
Yeah. And then he lost 80 pounds 14 years ago. Amazing. Such a cool, he's got an amazing story.
That is awesome. That is great. Well, good. Well, thank you everybody from joining. All right, Valerie, I got a few more questions for you because this is going really, really well. So thank you. In your work, I'm just going to throw this out there. What do you do to coach around this whole concept of overconsumption? Whether it be with food or with exercise, how does that kind of play into your work?
Oh my gosh, this is such a cool question. I've never had this question. I mean, I'm thinking of it a little bit more in depth right now.
Yeah, go for it.
I can scratch the surface of over-consuming. It's not healthy, obviously. Like everybody knows, if you eat too many calories, you're going to store it as fat, right? So, but I think we also but we overconsume most of the time mindlessly. So if we're just, and I use the example all the time with my clients of if you had an argument earlier in the day with a coworker, your spouse, whatever, and then you find yourself in the kitchen, and then you find yourself, and I wish I had like props, but you find yourself just mindlessly chowing down on chips or whatever you can grab in the kitchen, and then you have the wake up moment, like, what am I doing? Why am I eating this? So it's to snap out of there, and then other people also overconsume Facebook, they overconsume TV, they overconsume gossip and drama. And, it makes us feel good in the moment, right? I mean, guilty. I've totally done it. I'm addicted to scrolling on social media. And it makes us feel good because it's like an out that we have, but it's in the long term, it does not make us feel good. Just like sitting and eating that gallon of ice cream, it makes us feel so good while we're doing it, and then we're left with the effects of it later.
Yeah, no, well said, and I totally agree with you on the whole idea that just being a little bit more mindful helps us put a spotlight on what that overconsumption type stuff can look like. So yeah, thank you for that.
Well, thank you for asking these questions.
Yeah, no, good stuff.
He loves your show. You know what? And I wrote down, just in case, I'm going to say it now since we have a little transition. I love your appreciation, John. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Right back at you. All right, Valerie. So this is where the bowler in me gets to geek out with you a little bit. And so for anybody who's watching, that happens to be a bowler or loves bowling or plays at a higher level, I've got a few questions for you that I'd love for you just to share with our listeners today. So can you take us back? And I don't even want to say it's taking us back to last year, because maybe it's a little bit further than that. But you are part of a very distinguished group that gets to hold the honor of being Rookie of the Year. And being Rookie of the Year on a pro tour. So what was that whole journey like for you in terms of not only setting the goal and preparing for it, but ultimately achieving it?
Oh my goodness. It was tear-jerking at first, because when they were announcing, and I get goosebumps thinking about all of the previous winners. Oh my gosh. And to have me be in that realm, like you said, it's wow. I set the goal probably in 2015, 16, when it first started. I thought, what if that could be me? What if I could go out and compete the whole time? Could I actually compete against these girls? They're good. They're really good. And then I saw the criteria that you had to compete in 7 or less events. Maybe it might have been 8 or less. And I was on the cusp. I think because with the U.S. Women's Open, and I'd made a TV show at one of my bowls, like 3 or 4 previous U.S. Women's Open. That was practically the only tournament that I did bowl. And then when I was on hiatus from working because I was Canadian and, the government was running my life, and that's a very long story, so I'm not going to share that now, but I had a period of time, a couple months, where I was able to go out and compete in a couple of the events. So I knew how good these women, I'm going to call them girls, but they're women. I knew how good these girls were. And I thought, I'm going to go out and compete in the first 4. And if I do well, if I bowl to my potential and my expectations, then I'm gonna make enough money, because it is also about sustaining the ability to go out and bowl. I mean, it's not cheap. So if I'm able to at least break even or make some money, I'll go out and compete in the rest of the tour. And after the first 4 events, which I think I made it 3, I'm so bad with stats. I should keep better track and memorize this stuff. But I think I made 3, top 12 finishes. And I was like, wow, I think I have a chance to go out and do better, in terms of making top 4s and possibly winning. And then when they put out the first rankings for the Rookie of the Year, and I was, in the front, I was like, holy crap, it's gonna happen. and so it is, like you said, it's the power, or like we talked about earlier, it's the power of intention. If I work.
Oh. Where'd you go? That was really funny. All right, hold on. Let me bring you back up. There you go. All right. Phew.
That is hilarious. I swear I didn't touch anything. It's got to be the universe, playing tricks. But anyway, you know what? They were like, Valerie, you're taking too long to answer the question. Hurry up.
That's all good. All good.
So, to summarize and to really put some emotion behind it, and maybe some steps, and because I work hard, I work, and even Coach Ty Rose, I'm working with him on writing a couple articles, and I used to work with him on Team Canada. He even told me today, you work really hard off the lanes, and as much as I don't know, I feel like I never give myself credit for that. I always have the next task that I'm working on. And I really try not, maybe I need to sit more in with realizing that I work really hard, and it was just hard work pays off. Yeah. I can't say that it was a fluke. I worked my tail off.
And to get yourself to that point, there's such a big piece of it, is that where, that opportunity is there for you, right? We're not entitled to anything. Okay. But when we get to create these opportunities, and more importantly, it's about welcoming them, right? I talk so much about these 6 strategies for how we show up. The W is welcoming new opportunities. And when we open our mind and our heart and our soul to these kind of opportunities, these things get to present themselves to us, not because we're entitled to them, but because of the intentions we set in order to make those things happen.
Amen.
Yeah. So what does this year look like for you and the tour?
I'm committing to it, and I'm working even harder to prepare for it. So I needed to make sure that my business was all set, so that I could go out on tour. I didn't go out the previous year really because I wanted to build my practice, and I wanted to be financially able to. I don't like losing money, so I wanted to make sure that bowling was providing for itself, and then the rest of my business could help me go out and compete. So it's actually even better now, I would say, because this year I'm coming to the whole thing except for one stop, because my best friend is getting married, and gotta go to her wedding.
Gotta be there. Absolutely.
Yep. So, but to start, I'm actually later today. I'm having a planning call with my roommate this year, Felicia Wong. She's a fellow Canadian, and we're planning to drive from Calgary down to Tucson, up to Spokane, down to Sacramento, over to Vegas. We're driving through,
Wow.
God's country.
Yeah.
And so I cannot, I mean, just last year, because it was so on a whim, whimsical, is that the right word? I didn't really plan to travel, like to sightsee, except for Sacramento or Sonoma County last year. But this year, like, we're actually planning, and I'm planning to work around the tour. Like, I'm gonna have, and maybe I'll have to talk to you a little bit with work-life balance in terms of like planning to sightseeing, planning to check in with my clients and my coaches, and make sure my business is okay, and then shutting all of that off while I'm competing. Which thankfully, so many of my clients are bowlers that last year was so awesome. I mean, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm just gonna tear up because they think that I support them, but my gosh, do they support me? It's incredible.
Well, that's the power we just so appreciate about coaching, right? Is that we're there for our clients, and we also find out they're there for us too in some ways, which makes it really, really nice. We don't do this because we do this because we love it. It's all about service and how we get to show up in those kind of moments. And it's great that you've been able to carve out such a wonderful niche and to provide that kind of service, but to work with bowlers who know and understand the support. Then there's a whole different level of appreciation when they're watching bowl TV, or they happen to turn on the CBS Sports and see a TV show, or they're following online. They get to see all those kind of things, which just makes that connection even deeper, which is really nice. Yeah, anytime you're traveling on the road or whatever, we could pop on and do another Facebook Live from the road. I do want to just put a spotlight on this for a second, because for people who are maybe not as knowledgeable about the PWBA, the Pro Tours and things like that, can you just walk us through, like, when does the event start, and how many games you're bowling in the course of a weekend, and then rushing off to the next stop? Can you just give us a really quick picture of that?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So this year they've actually decided to cut it back by 2 games per block. And so now it's going to be starting on Thursday. We're going to have an hour and a half practice session.
Yeah.
And we, get to bowl on the pattern. We don't get to know the pattern before that time.
Right.
And once we practice, then, then it's time to drill balls if you need to. The next morning, it's an early-ish morning start. I don't actually know what time it's going to start, but, last year it was 9-10 o'clock in the morning. And we would bowl 8 games, but now we're going to bowl 6 games, break for a little bit, 6 more, and then they make the cut to the top 32, and you bowl 6 more games. And then they cut to the top 12. You bowl, I believe it's 6 more games, and then cut to the top 4. And then there's a, either Bowl TV or CBS Sports final. So that's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then unfortunately, I have had a lot of people ask, but I'm not able to bowl on the regional tour.
Right.
Because I'm in the elite field, top 24. And so my roommate, though, is going to bowl the regionals. And so then that's on Sunday, and then we get to scoot off to the next stop. That's going to be on the Thursday, and you start all over again.
And so point being made here, Valerie, is that if you're bowling the main event and you make it through all the rounds, and you're seated 3rd or 4th for the show, and you run the step ladder, if I did my math right, it's 27 games over the course of 2 days, not counting the practice you had on Thursday or any of the practice balls you had in between leading up to the blocks and things like that, correct?
Yes, and last year I believe I bowled at least 30 plus games in multiple weekends, and oh my gosh, it was so hard on my body. So hard that I'm taking what I learned, and I'm in the gym. I'm working with Heather Dorico and BowlFit, and she's got a program, and we're doing some things that are so specific to getting stronger for bowling that I'm I'm just doing what I can to make sure that I prepare better, because I was carrying my foam roller around, which I think I have it in the back here, to make sure that my body held up. And thank goodness I know a little bit about what I'm talking about with fueling my body, because I feel like those high inflammatory foods would not have served me while I was on tour. And now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's why you're an athlete, right? And we don't diminish that in any way, shape, or form, right? So kudos. So thank you so much for absolutely. Thank you so much. So we are getting at time, and for everybody that's been hanging out and hanging in there, thank you so very much. Valerie, I always end my show with this question for all my guests, and I would love it if you would just kindly answer it, which is, what advice would you give someone to create their next advancement opportunity?
Baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. That is our mantra. I mean, as much as you want, because it can seem, the reason we go back to that all the time is because we want results fast. Of course, we want our dream job. We want our dream guy. We want our dream life. But and then that can seem really overwhelming with how much you have to change. So then we hit the forget it button. Like, wow, it's just too overwhelming, so I'm not going to do it. And I mean, trust me, I've been there. Oh my gosh, I've been there. And so if you just start with, what is one thing that you can do today? And then what is one thing that you want to achieve by the week? If it is having those hard conversations, I think people so advice to give somebody advancement opportunity, let's say it's like a career, you have no idea who people know. So just ask. Don't be afraid to ask. Hey, and I mean, you brought up a gentleman that I didn't know about, but earlier, before the podcast started, and you could, I don't know, it's amazing how, if you just ask somebody, hey, I'm looking to do this, do you know anybody? Or like, what's your advice? What do you think my next step would be? And then go and pursue that. And then ask them, hey, who do you know? People love helping. They do.
They do. And just to piggyback on that, it's also an opportunity to say, how can I connect you? Thank you for making this connection for me. Who in my network can I connect you to? And and so I ask that question a lot, and I sometimes get dead silence from it because people aren't used to being asked that question, right? And it just gives them an opportunity to pause and be like, I may not know right now, but I'll follow up with you. Or they'll be like, do you know anybody in this? And that's just where we get to pay it forward over and over and over again, which makes it great.
Yeah, in the BNI world.
What's that?
In the BNI world, they call it giver's gain.
Yes, absolutely. So,
I love it.
Real quick. So, I gotta put the glasses on here because this is way too small, but I do want to just share with you a couple comments that popped up. So Theo said, stop, challenge, and choose in terms of that.
One of our, if we, it's just one of our things where if you are encountered with a challenge, if it's in support of your goals, or if it's not, you stop and then you decide. Yeah. I think that was when we were talking about the mindlessness.
Right. And the same point, Rebecca chimed in and said, portion control in our areas of your life.
Ooh, that's big.
Right?
I like it.
And little shout out from Katia.
Oh, thanks, Katia.
Right.
She's awesome. Love her.
So Gregory is a bowling friend of mine, and I know him locally. Focus on what adds value to your life. Absolutely. And guy who used to drill bowling balls for me back in the day and took a lot of pain out of my hands. So Joe, thank you, Joe, for chiming in there, right? And lastly, from Greg, we achieve so much in life. Why do we have a hard time accepting or celebrating our successes?
Amen.
Right? Absolutely. I think, Greg, I think if we can just, put that spotlight on those moments and be a little empathetic with ourselves and focus on those things that we get to celebrate more intentionally, we make it a little bit easier each and every moment. So, all right. So Valerie, thank you so much for adding so much value and sharing your stories. today. It's been an honor, and I appreciate it so much. If people want to get in touch with you, how do they get to do that?
You can add me on Instagram at Berberry Health, or Facebook. You can add me on Facebook. I don't know if I'm going to create like a page where you can like it, just in case I get to 5,000 friends. Who knows? But feel free to add me on Facebook. And then Valerie at burberryhealth.com. Okay. Just a side note, Berberry, the reason we chose that is because my last name is Bercier now, but my maiden name is Cal Berry. So we smushed it together.
Nice. A good little tidbit there. Absolutely. All right. So Valerie, thanks so much. If anybody needs to get in contact with me, as always, you can do so at john@johnneral.com, and happy to answer any questions and follow up with you from this interview. If you like today's interview, please do us a favor and share it. Share it with someone whom you think would benefit from it. These are all housed on the Facebook page, as well as my YouTube channel and website at johnneral.com. And one of the neat things I'm doing for 2020 is creating what I like to call SUVs. They're show up video shorts. So I'll take pieces of this interview and knock them down to about 1 or 2 minutes, just to give you some really quick content and value. So look for those as well. So Valerie, let me put your email address back up here again. Best of luck, continued successes, and best wishes, not only in your business and how you're serving your clients, but also out on tour. And, it's great to be part of the Brunswick family with you. So thank you so much.
Thanks, John. And I really appreciate you taking the time to do this with me, and your work that you do in supporting other people and other humans. And I love your appreciation. So thank you. Thank you.
Thanks so much. All right. So I will see you in a couple of weeks, everybody, with another interview, and we'll see each other really soon. So Valerie, thanks so much again. Everybody, thanks for joining. Have a great rest of the day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.